Welcome back. What is happening? We have a box here. I'm going to unbox this guy over here out of the line of sight. Give me just a moment and we will get into it. This one's got some fancy knives in it. Some fancy knives indeed. Let's see if they are dollar for dollar what they're all cracked up to be. All right, Houston, we have box tape cut. Oops, missed a cut. Oops, missed the draw. Looks like that might need to be sharpened. All right, one knife, two knives. I'm gonna make this one real quick here because it's something I've already reviewed quite a bit and we don't need to spend a ton of time on it, but holy moly, look at the craziness. That is a crazy variant of the Brown Knives FSD. That actually is like way brighter and kind of cooler than I expected. That's pretty badass. This thing's very new feeling too. This feels like it was never handled or used, which is how it was advertised. So, wow, that's a cool one. I gotta say I'm pleasantly surprised. That might be a keeper for me on this pattern 3. I think I might sell my nude tie version and keep that one instead. I was kind of thinking I might do the opposite, but very neat. All right, pleasant surprise. Let's get into it. This is a knife I have never handled. It's made by a custom knife maker. So hopefully you made it past the 2-minute mark here. You'll check this one out because they are not very common. Just trying to be very careful here to not cut the packaging of the knife itself. But yeah, this thing is a wild knife. Wild knife. Holy moly. That thing's a little bigger than I expected it to be. So this is the Ruben Rone, number 179. It's a damascene steel variant, show scale, backspacer and clip are titanium Damascus. This was made end of 2022 by Ruben himself. That is about as crazy of a knife as it gets in my experience. That is some pretty wild milling. Let's get a little close up on that. Look at that. Ooh, nice tight detent, and holy smokes. That is a crazy blade pattern. All right, let's see what this thing's all about. Time for some action. Oh. What? Okay, better than expected. Jeez. Full on drop shut. Gosh, I'd really like to be able to thumb flick this out, or I think it's just a little too tight to, maybe someone better than me could pull it off. Yeah, just not quite getting enough traction there, but man, that thing is crazy. So this was a custom variant. There's some more standard ones. It's kind of interesting. It's sort of thin, but it doesn't feel bad. What the heck? What if you showed up and you're like, yeah, someone asks you for a pocket knife and you just pull this out? What the heck? I'm excited to go show this to my wife so she can be completely disgusted. That is so nuts. I don't really know what to say about this thing. How's the lockup? Pretty solid. That's just a little piece of knife artwork there. It's got that back spacer, very minimal back spacer. Detent's good. Just never know with these customs, like what to expect. Lockup seems good. It may have just a twinge of blade play there, but nothing enough to really be concerned about. And I'm sure if it were tightened down a touch, it'd still probably be just as drop shut. That thing is just crazy. Check out that Damascus pocket clip. I don't think I've ever seen a knife that was quite like this before. Check out the milling in here for the lock bar. Oof. Let's see what it looks like inside. I imagine these are just slabs. Oh no, look, there's actually some milling out of there to lighten it up. So didn't expect that. That's just wild. So this thing is big. Let's get some stats on it just for fun here. God, that thing looks freaking crazy. I don't know if you can tell, but yeah, at this angle, the Damascus looks crazy. Like, can't see the pattern. Look at the difference. From this angle, you just see this like wild Damascus pattern. It looks like almost flat. And then coming from this angle, it looks totally different. That's really weird. Oh, look at that USA right in there. That's pretty cool. Look at the milling under that clip too. That's wild. Anyway, get some measurements on it. So you've got a pretty big, actually, 3.5, 3 point. It's definitely like 3 1/4 for the cutting edge, but about a 3.5 inch blade. Total length of this thing, 8.5 plus inches, 8.65 inches. I didn't even notice that the back spacer had that shape on it too. That's pretty cool. This thing's crazy. Let's get a weigh in. Also, I don't know if you noticed it there, but there's some interesting milling on the hardware, which is kind of cool. It's kind of a weird approach here. And then, yeah, here also is pretty neat looking. So yeah, with all that taken out, it's actually 5 1/4 ounces. It's not too crazy. Like, you could carry this thing. I don't know if that clip's very sharp, but let me throw it in the pocket real quick. It's actually a really nice pocket clip. Works really well. Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling this thing, even though it's heavy. In pants, I could carry it. I don't think I'd want it in shorts just due to the weight, but in pants, you like really don't even notice it because the knife's very flat. This is a very interesting knife. I've never seen one this wild that I could actually consider carrying. But man, that would be a conversation piece, wouldn't it? That is pretty nuts. Wow. If you can't tell what's going on here, you have kind of this like, it's like a raindrop Damasteel. Is that what they call that? I'm trying to remember if it's raindrop or something else. I think it's raindrop. But then you have this like ladder pattern. You know, I'm not like a big fan of something totally crazy like this in general, but this one's pretty unique. Well, I think that's about it for this one. Yeah, nice work. You know, I think part of it's also just going like, okay, if they're gonna do something crazy like this, how well do they execute it? The flipper is really good. Everything's knocked down around the edges, so it's comfortable in the hand. The clip works well. I mean, the blade shape's actually quite functional, right? You could use it in a functional way. It's got some good jimping up here. The action is just unbelievable. Look how centered it is. It looks quite perfectly centered to me. Yeah, and there's like a lot of space on there, so you're not likely to get yourself with the lock bar pressure, which you know is a thing with the frame locks. If you do push on it though, totally tightens things down, so you really want to keep your finger off the lock bar. And then that lock bar looks like it has a lock bar insert and stuff too, a removable lock bar insert, so it's pretty sweet. This would definitely be one where if you're not careful, you can get yourself pretty easily though, because that thing is so drop shut. I'm trying to think action-wise, it reminds me a lot of like a Holt. Like the Holt Spectre was very similar to this on the action. Or the, you know what this reminds me most of? The name of it just slipped my mind. I only had it for a little bit, but the, oh, it's right on the tip of my tongue. Well, that's gonna drive me crazy until I remember it, but there's another company that has a very, very similar knife to this where it's thin and kind of crazy and drop shut, but it's a more household name. Not that it's household, but not a super custom like this. It's more of like a mid-tech, I guess. What am I looking for? That company is going to drive me nuts unless I can remember it. Grimsmo, I can't remember the model I had, Norseman. It reminds me a lot of the Norseman on the action. A little better, I'd say, but similar. Just a little more satisfying, I think, for some reason. Like a little more controlled on the drop and a little more satisfying on the deployment, but very similar. Forward to back blade play. Yeah. Yeah, that thing is crazy and sweet. Well, that's a fun one. Over delivered for me on that one. On both of these, actually. Two very wild knives here. Found both of these on Reddit, if you're curious. Table on that guy was, I think, over 2,000, but you know, with the market how it is, I was able to get it for a bit less. And table for this guy would probably be around 900 or so, and was able to get that at a reasonable price too. So, you know, the market's making these kinds of knives a little more available for some than others, I think, perhaps, but a little more available than they were a while back. So it's cool to see. Always gotta love the made in Blaine, Washington, USA too. Sweet. Good day in the knife collection. I think that's all for now. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.